What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Panpro Games, and today we're looking at the top 100 players in Pokemon Unite and going to be discussing the meta that they have created. And before we dive in, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I really appreciate it, and I make tons of Pokemon Unite content. So on this leaderboard, we can access their trainer information, and this is how we're going to figure out what their main is. So the tier list is going to be, we're going to be looking at their past ranked matches, and from their ranked matches, we're going to figure out who their main is from the last 20 matches that they played. So looking at this person, from their last 20 matches, they have pretty much exclusively only played Wigglytuff. So Wigglytuff is their main. So onto the actual tier list, Wigglytuff will have 1 point. And since the data size is 100, that will be 1 point out of 100 for Wigglytuff. And also notice that this person, who's number 1 ranked in the world, is exclusively playing with teammates, probably in a full 5-stack, most likely. And this is how these players are ranked so high. I mean, this person has a 78.3% win rate overall in ranked, which is incredible. But they're also playing in a pre-made team of 5 against individuals. So are these players actually the best in the world? In my opinion, no, they're not. They're just abusing the system, which is fine. I mean, it's the system what it is. But, you know, if we look at the second player in the world, we also go to their battle record, and then we also hit ranked match. Okay, we can see this person is maining Blissey, and they are going to be a point for Blissey onto the leaderboard there, which is great for Blissey. But as you can also see, all these matches are in a 5-stack. And yeah, they have an 89.7%. That's insane win rate. I mean, that's not a realistic win rate. If it was a 5v5 every single time, then that would be crazy. But it's not. You know, the reality is, especially as a solo player, that you're going to end up facing these pre-made master teams. And before we look at the data, I do want to shout out Reddit users I Like Cute Things, K Corona, and 5th Gen Isn't Pokemon for starting this data set and finishing up the data set. And this is the data set from day 50 since launch of Pokemon Unite. So we'll be looking at the tier list and then a trend of data. And here's our data table. So we have Lucario at S tier, which means Lucario is the most picked Pokemon. So Lucario is at 20% usage, meaning 20 people in the top 100 use Lucario as their main. And then Wigglytuff has 16, Eldegoss has 14, and then Blastoise has 12, rounding out our A tier. B tier has Cramorant, has Greninja at 9, and then Greninja at 8. Ninetales at 8, and then our C tier is looking at Snorlax with 4, Blissey with 3, Pikachu with 3, Mr. Mime with 2, and Venusaur with 1. And then everyone in D tier has 0 usage in top 100. That no one is maining these Pokemon. So we have a clear defined meta, which is very interesting when we look at this, because only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Pokemon are currently being used the entire game in top 100, which is a pretty big disparity thing to see, honestly, considering like half the roster is just not even being used. And we do have some numbers to go along with this tier maker. So since the last time, Lucario's gone up by 2, Wigglytuff has fallen by 4, Eldegoss has gone up by 1, Blastoise is new, so he just has 12. Cramorant's gone up by 1. The biggest change from this is Greninja used to be on day 40. He used to be 18. Now he's at 8. So this is a minus 10. So he had the massive drop in usage when Blastoise came into play. Ninetales went up by 3. Snorlax went down by 1. Blissey went down by 1. Pikachu went up by 3. Was not even on this before, was at a 0 before. Mr. Mime went down by 2. Venusaur went up by 1 because it was at 0 before. So Venusaur hits the tier list. And now Zeraora is at a minus 3, so removed from the tier list. So Zeraora used to be in the top 100. So what does this data tell to me? The biggest thing here is the fall of Greninja jungle. Greninja being at 18, then Blastoise coming out, really says to me that Blastoise jungle is very viable and that Greninja is not always a Sherlock. And from my personal experience as maining both Blastoise and Greninja, Blastoise is a hard counter to Greninja, as Greninja really can't do anything to Blastoise because he's super tanky. He does tons of damage, and then he'll just rapid spin and catch up to Greninja and just destroy him with rapid spin water spout. And he can also displace him pretty easily with Surf as well and catch him and knock him up. And Greninja really doesn't have a way to deal with a massive knockup like that. He just needs to not get hit in the first place, but Blastoise is just so good at what he does, and he can really catch anyone with his knockup moves. So that is probably why we see Greninja fall from the top Pokemon from before with Lucario to all the way to B tier. So I think that's really interesting. Lucario in S tier really says to me that Lucario needs to be nerfed. And I've been saying this for a couple of meta patch notes now, that he hasn't really been touched, that Lucario has the best laning in the game right now. He's the best top and bottom laner, especially with Score Shield, as he can slowly whittle down the opponent's goal. But he's also gaining levels, and by the time he scores a couple points, he's like a level or two ahead of you, and then it's Dreadnought time or Rotom time, and he's going to pretty much get to his objectives because he has the best way to clear objectives in the game. And then the new counter jungle Lucario meta is so powerful too, that he is like the anti-meta in the jungle, and he really beats Pokemon, especially like Greninja and Cinderace in that jungle right now. That if people are sleeping on it, I do want to make a video on it, but Lucario is crazy good right now, low-key crazy good, but the top 100 players have obviously figured that out. So that's pretty crazy in my opinion. And I mean, these things don't surprise me, seeing Lucario, Wigglytuff, Eldegoss, and Blastoise this high. That all makes a lot of sense. It's very similar to my tier list. Seeing Cramorant being used this much is a bit surprising, and this makes me want to check out Cramorant more for sure. I honestly was not expecting Cramorant to be this high. I think it's probably because of the Air Slash HP recovery he gets, and I think Surf is pretty solid too. Ninetales being this high is a little bit surprising too. I personally agree with that. I think Ninetales is really good, but I don't see a lot of people talking about Ninetales like that. What's really surprising to me as well is because of the rise of Blastoise, not only did Greninja fall, but Wigglytuff and Blastoise being our prominent defender types, Snorlax has really fallen off, and I don't think Snorlax is as viable as he was before. He's still incredible, especially in solo queue. I think he's great, but he probably isn't as hyped up as he actually is now, just because of Wigglytuff and Blastoise really taking those defender roles and being just so much better than Snorlax at the end of the day, just because they're just more tanky, especially in Blastoise's case, where his CC is so crazy, but he can also just kill you. It's just a crazy situation. I am surprised. I'm not surprised to see Blissey. Blissey makes sense. Mr. Mime, I've always been saying in my tier list, where like I have him low, I have him in my personal B rank or C rank, but I know like a pro player can make Mr. Mime really work. So I'm glad to see some Mr. Mime love out there. I really want to get better with him as well. Pikachu is surprising, and I actually want to dive more into Pikachu and the different builds that people are running with Pikachu. I know he has the Execute, which is really good, but I wonder how they're playing him, and I need to see the item builds to run that whatever Pikachu they're running, because that's really incredible to see. And Venusaur, I get one player in Masters is playing Venusaur top 100, and I get it. I mean, Solar Beam's incredible. He does a ton of damage, great for sniping, and I think it's cool. I mean, definitely off meta pick. I think anyone in C is like viable for sure, but Venusaur having one is just like, he probably would end up in D rank. Let's be real. So less than half the roster is really up here and represented at the end of the day. So that's pretty crazy overall, honestly. And I hope we do see some nerfs to Lucario. I think a nerf to Lucario and Wigglytuff is pretty important. Honestly, same with Blastoise. And I think for D rank, on these Pokemon that are not being played, I think they need buffs. I think every one of these Pokemon need a buff, especially Slowbro, as he got nerfed and he didn't deserve it. And I mean, Pokemon, Cinderace got taken out of the meta after his nerf too. So we'll see what happens with the Pokemon Unite launch on mobile. Hopefully, some of these characters get another shot at justice. And for you data nerds out here, here's the actual bar graph since people have been taking score from day 4 to day 50 of Pokemon frequency and Pokemon Unite by the top 100 players. So essentially this is where we're getting our data for them. If you're really interested, you want to examine this, I highly recommend it. But as you can see, the Greninja line all the way at the top in the blue has severely fallen off. And you can see how Cinderace used to be the top Pokemon at 1.2, and he has severely fallen off into an absolute nothingness. So there's a lot of interesting lines here. Lucario is another great line where he went up, then he went down, and then he went up again, and now he's top of the pack. And Blastoise's yellow line on day 37 just spiking up to, I think he's going to keep spiking up as well. And I mean, someone like Eldegoss is constantly in this top 100 as a top player, and it's honestly just pretty crazy. And Wigglytuff, as you can see, after Wigglytuff's buff really shot them off. Like on day 14 you just noticed a big spike, and then day 37 is when you get that massive jump from day 30 to day 37. Just you see that pink line rise up. So yeah, this is a lot of interesting data. I think this data is really useful, especially for the developers if they want to make decisions on nerfing certain Pokemon. I hope they would review data like this, because I think this is very interesting, especially in teams. But to be fair, this is not necessarily the solo queue experience. I mean, when I play solo queue exclusively, tons of Greninja still. I still see a bunch of Cinderace. I still, I will see Blastoise too, but I'm not seeing as much Lucario as these other Pokemon. So I think the meta is very different for the top 100 than for your usual solo queue player. So I want to keep that in mind when I'm saying like nerfs and stuff. But I still think someone like Wigglytuff should be probably nerfed a bit. Same with Lucario. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this different type of video. Let me know in the comments what you think about the meta, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future. And I'll catch you guys next time with more Pokemon Unite action. Peace out and have a good one.